All right. So when you went to the States now, how early did you meet Boogie Down Productions, which would be Scott La Rock and KRS1? How early did you meet them in their career?
That was one of the people that I met, like, hanging out in Latin quarters, and they were from the Bronx, and a lot of Bronx people, you know, the whole hip-hop circle, when the Bronx came down in the Latin quarters, it was like everybody going back to the Bronx, traveled back together. So I met Scott La Rock and KRS1. He was like, Chris, come over here. And they were trying to, she said she raps, she's from Canada. Yeah. And that was it. And everybody was there. There was, you know, the whole pre-golden era, including R&B. Bobby Brown was there. So he was like one big scene. Ernie, who took all the pictures, so he would catch me on the street, and Zulu Nation would protect me and make sure I'd be on the street with too many chains, but I'm from Canada, ignorant, straight dancehall. And he just threw the Zulu Nation over me to make sure don't rob her. She's from Canada. Yeah. And she's with our brothers and brother, and yeah, so it was very protective of the artists then. So once they knew, and they knew once I started rapping, oh my God, she's here because of hip hop. So they were very protective of the women in the streets at that time, at that young age. They knew and then she's from Canada, and it's Manhattan, and that was like where everybody met from wherever you're from as a tourist. And then hip hop was the hottest thing, and Latin Quarters was the club, and
that was another downtown. That was their version of downtown Manhattan. Yes. We have downtown Toronto. They have Manhattan. Okay, so when you met Boogie Down Production now, did they have any recordings out as yet, or they were just more or less freestyling?
Freestyling and had recordings. Everybody had recordings out. They had cassette tapes. So they were working with Bill Blass, and they were running the Bronx and putting their stuff together. So that's how I knew who they were. And they were being introduced at the same time, but I still knew who they were because everybody knew who they were. And I was like, yo, that's my crew. So they're the Bronx. Follow them because they're going to take that train home. Yeah. So, yeah. So it was... I was very involved with them, and then they wanted to come to Canada. And I was like, yeah, we got to come to Canada. And then I introduced them to everybody and picked them up. Our promoter brought them here, and it was like, who's paying for you to come here? Yeah. Somebody booked us. Michie, is he good? I'm like, da-da-da. So I picked them up at the airport and then stayed with them. We went and brought West Indian food, said we cooked it, and brought the West Indian food. And then the next day we had to cook. So it was an experience. We were just trying to say, Canada is this, and all the accent stuff. We were trying to prove it in the food. Don't eat the fast food. Come, we're going to bring you to West Indian. So and picked them up at the airport, and they went on and did their show. Ended up introducing me on stage, and so it was a mixture of the scene, and everybody was already involved in doing music. Yeah.
At that time there, because this is what I want to know, did they have the bridges over when you met them yet?
In terms of timing and hindsight, it's hard to say. I think so. I think so, because I knew that it was more South Bronx was a song that we gravitated to. But on that mixtape, there was so much. Like, who knows if Bridges Over was on that tape? It's one of those things. Like, I can look back on it so much. You know what I mean? Like, those were the songs that were juggling at the time in terms of date. You know, Caravan and New Year's, I don't know. Yeah.
The reason why I was asking for Bridges Over is because, remember, Bridges Over is at hip-hop and reggae feel, you know. At that time there, we didn't realize that it was.
Yes.
But it was. That's why I'm trying to figure if you...
No, they knew. No, man, Shinehead already did all their stuff. Dancehall was it, and they knew I was coming from, because I would sneak out from First Friday and go Biltmore. Yeah. So I was living dancehall because that was what I knew. I worked in hip hop, so they knew, because when they met, it was like the scene gravitating, because it was already together over there anyways, right? So when I fully believe, because you can't deny it in the Bronx. Yeah, like reggae was there. I do think that whole, you know, that's where Stahoma Cool hurt. You know what I mean? It's undeniable, a part of it. Yeah. But I do really think the pinch of it, Heavy D knew and Shinehead knew in terms of putting it together. But everybody had tape. We didn't know about their tapes then too. Yeah, so it's a... And
you had met Heavy D and Shinehead back then also.
Yes. And it's not like they knew who I was. It wasn't like, hi, I'm MICHIE MEE. And Heavy, yes. Shinehead, no. When he came here and was at the Copa, and we were like straight fans. And then I emulated the dub plate for High Tech. High Tech, Madem was from Shinehead's release on his album. Yeah. So I was a straight Shinehead fan. And he knew my cousins, the Bronx, and everybody. So you know, you just want to get on. I'm from Canada. What up, cousins? Those are my cousins' friends. Yeah. And then it's like, hey, isn't that Shinehead? Kind of like that. From a distance, he wouldn't even know I was in the background.
Yeah. This podcast is brought to you by www.twolinedmusichut.com.